All right, folks, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. So the Epstein files are real. They're a thing. They are not a hoax. We're going to talk about it. There's a lot of stuff to get to. Obviously, millions of documents. We haven't read them all. I don't think anybody has read them all, but we're going to do the best we can to get into it. A couple of things. The elites of this world, the leaders of our world, are into some very dark stuff revolving around human trafficking, sex trafficking, kids, satanic rituals. The conspiracy theorists were right. Of course, we've all already known this. There's been ample evidence of this since the WikiLeaks happened way back in 2016. So that's the first point. And then the second point I would say is, with some of these emails, we are, in some instances, the Bill Gates one specifically, we're giving these people way too much organizational credit. They are in a mess themselves trying to constantly cover up for their lies. Like, I don't want my wife to get an STD. We're going to talk about that much, much more, and we'll start the show now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope everybody, guys, we got both Rob in the house, we got Eric in the house. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Rob, welcome.
Paul, it's an honor to be on the show, as always. I'm glad we got a full house. We got the Eric Haynes, as E. Haynes, as he's known in my contact list. I don't know what's up with that. He still want people to know his name is Eric, but I don't know. But anyway, great show. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and the Epstein files sort of ruling the day after, the liberals are sort of wanting to turn the page on what's happening everywhere, really with the pushback to this illegal immigration lockdown, this surge to try to, curtail all of the stuff that was done during the previous administration. So looking forward to getting through the topics of the day with a full house.
Yes, by the way, Eric, welcome.
Good to be part of the conversation.
Yes.
E has always been a nickname for me since high school, so friends can certainly call me that anytime. Buddy.
E.
Yeah, man.
All right. I like
that. Goes back to Entourage. Remember that show?
Never watched that show.
Well, the agent's name was E.
Yesterday, I was trying to. I decided to. I take a Sabbath nap, if you will, on Sundays. If you get home from church, you're exhausted.
I've never heard.
Hold on, I got to write that one down.
Sabbath nap. Yeah,
notes.
you tell that to your wife, so you can't argue.
Wasn't the Sabbath like
kids leaving me alone? I got a Sabbath nap. I'm right in the middle of it.
Sabbath nap. Don't interrupt it. Listen, wasn't the Sabbath on a Saturday?
Yeah, the Christian Sabbath.
Yeah.
Historically, yes, but the Christian Sabbath is on a Sunday, historically speaking,
sure,
because that's when we believe that Christ rose from the dead. So, So I'm texting you guys about the Epstein files. This is just what I briefly knew. The Bill Gates thing, all of this stuff, and then I decide, okay, I got to take a nap. So I take a nap, and I guess I had this inner rage, and so I had a nap where the three of us,
Epstein rage.
we were in some city, and it was in daylight, and we were in a gunfight, and we were killing people. We were shooting airplanes and helicopters out of the air with with handguns. It was crazy. And then the
bad guys, right?
The bad guys.
Yeah.
After I woke up, because I got shot, I'm assuming in the dream I got shot. I'm assuming that I was just so mad at the injustice, because I don't expect any accountability at all. So I get shot in the dream, I remember, and so now we're suddenly in a car. And I'm like, guys, I think I'm shot. I got to go to the hospital. And I said, but I don't want to look. How bad is it? So I lift my shirt up, and I hear Eric in the back seat, and he goes, "Jeez." And I'm like, oh no, now
the medical professional back there.
Yeah. Now I think I can feel it, and I'm like, okay, we got to go to the hospital. So we're driving to the hospital. And I start seeing the hospital signs. I'm like, oh, we're almost there. And Rob's driving, and Rob drives past the hospital. I'm like, Rob, you just drove past the hospital. And Rob's like, I don't even know. You're just like, we got to go to a different one.
Too many liberals at that hospital.
Anyway, he keeps passing hospitals, and then I wake up because I can't get to the hospital. And I wake up, and I thank the Lord that it was just a dream.
And he tells us this wild story in a text message. He tells us this, and And I just read through it. And of course, I mean, I was like, you know, how you kind of half read a text message. And, you know, you just read it and it's like, what the hell are you talking about, Paul? What are you talking about? And then I scroll back up and I was like, oh, he's describing a dream that he had and all this stuff. And then I was just like, man, you need to lay off the peyote. Because that's what it struck with me. I was like, he's locked in with some Native Americans here, and he's smoking the stuff.
It's a different kind of Sabbath nap.
Chavez on Young Guns.
Gosh,
Literally plays
man.
in perfectly with that story.
There you go. Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't really think. I mean, that's what's so frustrating. I mean, I was just at the bank, and people were talking about the Epstein files. The tellers were talking about it, and in the agreement is just like, yeah, I mean, this is all terrible. There's not going to be any accountability, and the people are going to continue to get more and more angry because, you know, with these disclosures, you have Todd Blanche of the DOJ going on the Sunday shows yesterday and saying, we're not going to pursue any other leads. Basically, the matter is concluded. We're not going to arrest anybody. And it was so strange. So on Friday, there was two things that I saw that Todd Blanche was having a press conference on Friday. We don't do a show Friday, so I was up here working on social media. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the Todd Blanche press conference, see what's going on. Simultaneously, Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to address the National Association of Secretary of States on what we presumed was the election fraud, because remember last week was the FBI raid at Fulton County,
Absolutely.
Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't show up. Okay, so she didn't address, for whatever reason, we don't know why. I don't know if it had to do with the fact that the news had now been dominated by the disclosure of Todd Blanche and the millions of Epstein files that everybody was pouring through. In the same press conference, you know, he talks about, Todd Blanche says, we've released everything, we've redacted some things, but we're not releasing things, and I'm paraphrasing here, we're not releasing videos and stuff that show like death or murder or that sort of thing. And in the same press conference, he takes questions about, are you going to do anything else? Or is it going to lead to any more prosecutions? And he says no. And it's just like, okay, so you're redacting the stuff where, there's serious crimes going on. And I think the stuff they've already got out is, people are implicating themselves in crimes. And so, yeah, there's not going to be any accountability on this. And it's extremely frustrating.
I told you. I say that as humbly as I can possibly say it, and with as most disgust and vomit in my mouth. But I'm just saying, I told you. Yeah. And I now the expectation bar is just so low that it's this is sick.
What you have, unfortunately, is these media outlets that have been really pushing for this, and you see it every video that's posted on the White House accounts or Donald Trump's accounts or any prominent conservative. They're like, where are the files everywhere. And so this gets put out there, and a lot of us expected a big nothing burger because there's nothing new here, there's nothing new, except there wasn't. There was stuff new. And we're seeing this stuff that was a little sickening, when you're talking about, look, you mentioned Bill Gates, and allegedly emailing, asking for antibiotics because he had received some sort of STD from a Russian girl or Russian girls, and he was worried that he gave it to his wife, and so he's going to spike her drink. And that kind of really lines up with what we heard whenever Melinda Gates
got a divorce.
Yep.
Is that, it was because of his infidelity, and all of this stuff came out, which means that if you look at the timeline of it, they probably had access to these files, and she saw all of that long ago, years ago, before this stuff came out. And so, why was it not released earlier? And I don't know why the Biden administration didn't, but I can tell you this. The people that are pushing hard and trying to say, well, Trump did this and Trump did that, but the Biden administration did everything that they could to arrest this man and got him arrested.
Who, Epstein?
No, Trump. Yeah.
Trump,
the Biden DOJ was doing everything that they can, including, even individual states. They were doing everything they could they were throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this man. And they had these files, and they didn't believe that there was anything there that pointed to Trump. Either that, or they didn't feel like it was strong enough to outweigh their friends, a Bill Gates type person, the damning information against him. So I don't know. But to say that it was a nothing burger, and so that's, there's going to be nothing new is false. Yeah. There is stuff new, and it's sickening.
And so we got to, the question is, and honestly, and I told you guys before this, I'm when it comes to what I'm reading, I am less concerned with how this affects Donald Trump. I want the facts to be known for sure, 100%, and I agree with what your argument is. But what we're uncovering is really one of the things that woke a lot of people up back in 2016, 2017, when people were just learning. Even before that, people were just learning about Little St. James Island and Jeffrey Epstein. And again, the reason this was so unifying and everybody started talking about this online, and then we finally, in the 2024 campaign, we had people talking about it, J.D. Vance talking about it, and admitting that it's not a conspiracy theory, is the age-old question, decades-old question is, why do our politicians get elected on this platform, but then they go to Washington, D.C., and then they come back to us with all these excuses? Can you explain that to us? What's going on? And Jeffrey Epstein is a possible answer, or is one of those answers, which is blackmail, which is, there's a lot of different ways to blackmail people, and Epstein was certainly one of those, and he's working for intelligence, and specifically Mossad is mentioned in these new disclosures. And so what we're talking about here, though, is not just how disgusting the elite are, it's the victims. The victims of the elite are kids, are children.
Yeah.
And so that's my focus, is at least at this juncture. And there's a lot. I'll give you an example, and then we can respond to this. But John Harrell mentions this about everybody's kind of going through these documents. So lots of clickbait coming with the Epstein files. I'm not sure how there are multiple versions of many files, and some copies appear to be AI generated and produced errors. A good example being that Epstein had an account named Baal, meaning the ancient Canaanite god. I saw that circulating. Maybe that's true, but there's another document that says Bank instead of Baal. So there's some muddied waters here. And then when it comes to the Trump allegations, or the times that Trump is mentioned in there, Cernovich posts that the Epstein release is loaded with unfounded allegations from post-2020, when any mentally ill person could file a report. Way too much obvious nonsense is being pushed. Even CNN did this. Unfortunate as it is, it means no one knows up or down. And that's why I think the best thing to do is to focus on some of these emails. I think the emails are the ones that are the even though that Baal one was altered, the emails tell some narratives that are shocking, disgusting, and evil and wicked. And so, the Bill Gates situation is kind of my main. When I read the Bill Gates, okay, I slept with Russian hookers, and by the way, that was an email, I think, from Jeffrey Epstein to himself, memorializing what was going on. I think that's actually what that was.
Goodness,
wasn't from Bill Gates. And you mentioned maybe Melinda Gates had access to that or whatever, or maybe she got an STD. Maybe the antibiotics. Maybe he never gave him the antibiotics. Yeah. But that's why when I say these people, we give to some degree we give these sickos too much credit. Yes, they're all covering for everyone else because they all have blackmail on each other, right? So the conspiracies kind of write themselves. But when you look into that specific example of, hey, I'm in trouble, I got to hide this from my wife. Can you give me antibiotics so I can secretly drug her so she doesn't, so I can still sleep with her, which is a thing I don't want to think about at all, Bill and Melinda Gates. But I want to continue to be intimate with my wife, but I don't want her to get an STD that I have from Russian hookers.
Yeah.
You just think, what is this? Some sort of, I mean, these people are in the snare of the devil, but they're also not near as immune from problems. They just have a lot of money. They just have more money than everybody else. That's what right. It is. They just have tons of money.
Billions and billions of dollars.
Just my own morbid curiosity here. What do you take antibiotics for what STD?
You're the expert. You're the expert.
Valtrex for herpes or penicillin or something he'd probably want to put in her drink or something like that. You could get liquid
like
forms.
Chlamydia?
You guys want to go down this road?
No, I'm just saying,
I don't know what you take antibiotics for, like what STD you take antibiotics for. Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm assuming, or syphilis, right? Didn't Al Capone die of syphilis? But that's something that's curable, right? Syphilis.
So we can go down this road if you guys want to go into some specifics.
I do want to know
different antibiotics and what's curable versus what you have forever. Like herpes is not something that you get cured from penicillin. So you just take a medication.
So he could have had herpes, which is permanent, and has to dose his wife with Valtrex for the rest.
100% to prevent outbreaks. You would have to literally.
Is that the most common one? Herpes.
Yeah, but if to me, in my mind, if you're trying to cover it up rather than, hey, my wife is about to have a herpes outbreak, man.
In Northeast Arkansas, the answer to your question is yes. In Bill Gates's world in Hollywood, I don't know. I mean, the old days of like the clap and stuff like that. That's from way back when. And there's a lot of...
You remember the HBO documentary that back in the day in the 90s that had Truman, Arkansas as the per capita STD capital of the world?
Yeah. Which, by the way, and I knew this because I was a school teacher in Truman whenever I was a school teacher. Never lived there, not from there. No affiliation, just happened to have a job there. I feel like I got to give that as
good plug.
Rob does not have an STD.
Just gotta buffer this with
our co-host Rob Spencer, who's never had an STD. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's important that it's known there because I've got a 15-year marriage here, I'm sure. So we want that well known. I don't have one, but
no one thinks you do. Just so you're clear,
I don't know. I feel like I'm having You said something about Truman, and now I'm feeling like defensive because I was a school teacher there.
Yeah, but you were.
But then I also offered that information, so I only have myself to blame at this point.
No one thinks that.
Okay. But here's the thing. So I talked to a guy, I won't mention his name here, but he was a longtime Truman resident. And he said that, like, in the 80s, like leading up to this documentary in the 90s, that there was a clinic there in Truman that would see 14, 15, 16-year-old patients without their parents' permission whatsoever. If they could get some cash together, they could go. And so you had all of these people that were coming from outside of the area, and they were just putting like a random post office box.
Oh, that's why that was so high.
Down. And so it really looked like that there was a concentration of it here, and it was just because of this one clinic. Now, I don't know that that's true, but this guy was like an infectious disease scientist. Like he did, he still does, lab work on all of that stuff. So it just like of all the sources that seemed to me the most legit here. I digress. Other than to say that I don't believe that Truman, Arkansas is the true STD capital of the world. I believe that there was just people keep calling me from Washington D.C. here. I'm wondering if that's the president. I need to answer that call.
It's the Gates Foundation.
He's like, listen.
The Gates Foundation wants to ask Rob about the medication.
I hear you're talking about the herp here on your show, but no. Where was I going all this stuff?
We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
Correct, yeah.
I got derailed.
And I just didn't know because in my mind, if I'm trying to slip my wife drugs so that she's recovers from something, it doesn't seem to me like that would be one of those persistent ones rather than just hey, I need to get her over the hump, cure her, or the jig is going to be up.
I think if you're ever in that scenario, your marriage is pretty terrible.
Listen,
I think
dude,
it's safe to say that your
you're
marriage is
sleeping with Russian teenagers and you get an STD and you may have given it to your wife and now you're thinking of slipping her drugs to hide it. You've gone down a pretty deep, dark rabbit hole, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you need Jesus, number one. Number two, you need to stop it because you're just digging a hole.
So there, in the Epstein files, there was I think the full interview that Steve Bannon did with Jeffrey Epstein is there, and so people have been watching that because there's not a lot of interviews where you actually get to, see the man himself. So here's Jeffrey Epstein being asked if he's the devil.
I told him the devil,
100%.
The devil
himself.
The devil himself said, "I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life."
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody
the devil
knows
smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And that concluded the interview.
What the hell was that? That was the most awkward.
It was extremely awkward.
Who is interviewing this?
Steve Bannon.
Okay, that was Steve Bannon asking that?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, that was weird.
I know. That was really, really a weird question.
But I will say this. I feel like that's the first time I've ever heard him speak.
Yeah, I've only heard a few.
Yeah. I always think of Epstein as like the syndicate in all the the Mission Impossible movies. Yeah. He's like this entity that's in the background that's controlling so many of these bad things that are happening. And in this case, some really, really terrible, deviant sexual behaviors for A-listers and get folks with money at the end of their bank account that starts with a B.
Yeah.
And he's just controlling. He's the mastermind and master manipulator controlling all this stuff.
A James Bond villain for sure. And it's not just the sex and blackmail. There's emails talking about, we need to overthrow the government of Ukraine. Really good.
He's texting congressmen in the middle of their committee meetings, and she's
Supreme Court justice. Trying to figure, put the finger on the scale with who's going to get the nominee and that sort of thing.
Well, let me say this before we change on from that interview there. Obviously hearing him speak for the first time, I expected something different.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean.
More polished, like
something
more
polished,
wordsmith,
a little bit more machismo with it.
Well, they say he's supposed to be this genius mathematician, but they're all saying, I've seen some people be like, I don't think he was a mathematician at all. I don't think he was smart at all. There's no emails with him like doing these master, configurations. There are emails of him talking about the goyim, which is a slur for non-Jew white people.
Yeah, his emails make any editor just go nuts, like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Well, to me, when listening to him, he sounded like the CEO of a tech company that rather than this, this child molesting, pedophile, billionaire, evil business person or whatever. And I promise you, I'm not trying to minimize. It's just
shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking to me, to hear his cadence and the way he talks. I just kind of expected him to be smoother. Mm-hmm. This guy screams creep.
Yeah,
to me.
Earlier when we were talking, we had our meeting about studio upgrades. We were talking about what is it? People with lower IQs.
Oh yeah.
What was it again? Because that may apply to him. I'm not saying he has a low IQ, but maybe not as high as people think.
The
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
Yes, and so essentially, I was watching this thing that just talked about how individuals who statistically consistently test out as the lowest IQ individuals believe wholeheartedly that they are at the top echelon of intelligence.
I'm not saying that describes him, but it is interesting.
And what it does is it sheds light on the fact that you want to say, well, you're just ignorant and you're stupid and you're a liar and all of this stuff, but it sheds light on the fact that they truly believe that they're correct.
Jasmine Crockett, Gavin Newsom, Eric Swalwell. Like, I'm starting to think of all these names of people that
what if they had
I think of as just low IQ individuals who really think that they are.
And what if they had $1 billion?
Yeah, right.
There'd be a lot of people that might think they're way smarter than they actually are.
Side note, just because you mentioned Tim, I think that Republicans and maybe even some independents who lean right have a danger of doubting Gavin Newsom. And I can say this. If you watched him on his first episode or his first podcast there where he had Charlie Kirk on, and you listen to the way he, he's just a lying politician. He's like literally going against everything that he's ever said in these things. But he says it so convincingly, right? And so I mean, as a conservative watching that, no, that's not what you're saying. That's not how you feel. You absolutely are in favor of men and women's sports. Don't sit here and say that you understand that it's unfair.
Yeah.
Bull, you're lying. But I can tell you that he gets on a debate stage, and we saw it a little bit in that debate with Ron DeSantis. He gets on a debate stage. Now, I believe that J.D. Vance may be the most premier debater in politics today. I don't know. Is there anybody better than J.D. Vance? I don't know. But I can tell you a close second.
To be fair, yes, I think he's good. But to be fair, Tim Walz is...
I meant to put him on my list of...
I'm just a knucklehead.
Yeah.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Yeah.
Listen, so you've got Gavin Newsom, though, that I think... What's the word? Underestimate him at our own peril.
I agree with you.
Now, I think we look at the politics of California and we say that's not going to be universal throughout the states, the United States. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he's already got 30% of the populace behind him with that D next to his name, right? With the Democrat. So he's got that. All he's got to do is get another 21% of those independents.
Yeah.
And I know he's not on our list to talk about today, but I'm just trying to say he is the antithesis of what I see with that Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
You got a machismo kind of guy with Gavin Newsom, and he's going to be dangerous.
All right, we're going to try to run through this because so Epstein would call Dershowitz, and then the Mossad would call Dershowitz to debrief. This is just a few of the things. So this idea that he did work for intelligence, specifically Mossad, a lot of people didn't want to have to, don't want to talk about that because it implicates our greatest ally. That's in these documents. We have this one. New Epstein documents reveal individuals involved in investigation believe Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell were Mossad agents trying to blackmail leaders throughout the political world. Again, in the documents, data points, make of them what you will. Newly released Epstein documents reveal alleged connection between Epstein and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, trying to get a meeting there. Then we have this. Now, this is the Pizzagate situation is fascinating that this is now resurfaced. Something that I went and read the WikiLeaks emails when they came out. Clearly, there was something very strange there. FBI has published code words that, pizza, cheese, those hot dogs, those sort of things can be used for, as code language for little girls and little boys and that sort of thing.
It's a way of communicating as a pedophile what you're into without coming out and
it's
saying
it's not up to us. I mean, it's up to the other side to explain this, and they're not going to. Right. But I mean, we're not the weird ones because we're noticing this, and you just look at this. Some of these, let's see here,
from Jeffrey Epstein to someone we don't know.
He says, sorry, I have no stomach for even the slightest aggro. I don't care. I don't have the stomach for it or for any drama, imaginary or real. I'm still fragile off the last one and scared of shadows. Somebody writes, I watched them all. Please don't send anymore.
But what's aggro?
I don't know.
The slightest aggro.
Then we go to these others. This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand. Go no. So, I mean, no grown person is going to, let's go for pizza and grape soda again. These are obviously code words for terrible sexual abuse of kids. You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's the pizza. She looks pregnant. So this was in response. She looks pregnant. You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's the pizza. Yeah, this is sick stuff. Then we have this. We know cheese, according to, it's very well documented, cheese is code word for little girl. And so we have a disgusting email here from Peter Hull, or to Peter Hull, rather. To Peter Hull, not from. We don't know who it's from. Wonder why they would black out who it's from. Pete, can you also bring the cheese holder things you have so people don't manhandle the cheeses? I only have 3.
What is it? I'm trying to. What does that mean?
Well,
in actuality,
if cheese is code for little girl, again, this is Sarah Fields. That's what she says. So something to hold little girls, so they're not manhandled. So for all of the talk about how this affects this politician or that politician or whatever, you understand why, like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is so much deeper than anyone's thoughts early on a couple of years ago, or when all this stuff first started coming out about what we envisioned would be the Epstein files release and what would happen in turn because of it. Everyone has their own individual definition of what they thought would happen when the files came out. And we all thought of different celebrities. We all thought of these people in handcuffs walking, to the jail system, and politicians and celebrities all in huge amounts of trouble. And now we're looking at this stuff, and we're trying to sparse together, I guess, millions and millions of documents and files, and it just, my concern is that it's just going to get so convoluted and so weird, especially with some of the redactions, that nobody's going to be able to make sense of anything, and then you're going to have people say,
"There you go."
That's exactly right.
Well, I guess this was kind of a nothing burger for what I thought was going to be this major task force investigation and arresting of Jay-Z and whoever else I had in my mind as being at the center of everything. And that Gates is not going to go to jail, and nothing's really going to happen.
I think you're exactly right. And it's interesting, because, back in whenever the Julian Assange WikiLeaks stuff happened, Julian Assange is quoted as saying, If you knew everything, it would take down 98% of Washington.
Yeah, right.
98% of Washington. So now we have a scenario where, okay, all of this stuff is out. There's more that's not out. Okay, there's videos and stuff that's still not out. Even Elon Musk is out there calling on, look, all of the videos need to be released, and they need to blur out all of the victims in the video. So that's a tedious process. I mean, if you were to go through all of the videos, but it's not really going to be over until we can see who's in the videos with and who wants. I don't want to go watch that stuff, even with the stuff blurred out. I don't want to watch it.
No.
But I want people. I want people to go to jail, or honestly, the death penalty should be on the table with this stuff.
But if we see these people, allegedly Bill Gates, allegedly Jay-Z, if we see these people in a video, and then even though the individual is blurred out, something that says this is not an adult, some kind of whatever. That's what we need to know, because these people need to be behind bars. But at the very least, they need to lose their entire livelihoods.
Ostracized from, that's true.
I completely agree. Here's another example. Actually, we're going to take a minute and 20-second break, and we're going to come back and we're going to go over some more of this stuff. Really wild stuff.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order. Verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
All right, welcome back. We're kind of previewing the next couple of things that are in these this release of the Epstein files, and it's gut wrenching. And again, some of this stuff, they got some of this stuff which is where anybody can go and give an anonymous tip, but when you get into some of the emails of the FBI, I think that's the one we just saw, the FBI discussing what they're hearing from alleged whistleblowers or alleged victims. But it's just gut wrenching. It's absolutely evil. And what you,
I'm sitting here realizing that I wasn't ready for what I asked for.
You're not ready. Yeah. If
you're just not, and I'm not just because I'm a dad with young children, but anybody with a soul.
Yeah.
And an ounce of human decency you cannot read these without literally needing to prepare yourself to lose what's in your stomach.
And if you are, we were told, I think this is a huge problem. We were told there was nothing in the files, right? And you can say, well, a lot of the stuff in the files the FBI investigated, and the FBI didn't come up with, didn't find it credible. Yeah, okay. Well, none of us really trust the FBI,
No.
But this is Peggy Segal. She's apparently one of Hollywood's most powerful publicists.
Never heard her name.
Yep, never heard of her. But she's mentioned, or she sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein. That's the gvacation@gmail. That was Jeffrey Epstein's one of his emails. The title was Kenya, and they said something about on the plane with Maddie now. We're about to take off from Amsterdam. I can bring a little baby back for you or two, boys or girls. So Madonna will email when we get to Amsterdam. Huh. Isn't that interesting? There's nothing in the files, though, right? I mean, does the FBI ever go visit Miss Peggy?
Could this just be an adoption thing? Like, I'm trying to.
Yeah, but I mean, who would want to adopt a baby to Jeffrey Epstein? No.
I mean, and
right.
It's one of those things where you say baby, but you're really talking about a 13-year-old girl or boy.
Oh yeah, you definitely could be.
Boys or girls? Boys or girls? You get to choose, sicko.
I mean, there's now legitimate.
This is what Madonna did. I mean, she literally went over there and did this.
And celebrities everywhere have been adopting, kids from all kinds of, all over the world. It's just insane. Then we have this one is I think one of the worst ones to try to make sense of. Owen Schroyer says these images from the Epstein files have been labeled sensitive. Matter of fact, I had to click see images in order to get this to pull up. They've been labeled sensitive by X. The names in the most disturbing emails have been redacted. So these are the most disturbing emails. So get ready. This is one of the most disturbing emails that was in the Epstein probe. Make of it what you will. We don't know who it's from. We don't know who it's to. It just says, thanks. I didn't realize Bush raped him too. Okay. I believe this is FBI. So this is the sex crimes, sexual assault from the FBI. This is, I guess, a correspondence between FBI agents. And this is in response to, I guess, a victim claiming that he was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, He witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from the intestines. He also was raped by George Bush I. Victim. Now, again, this is just an alleged incident that occurred. And these are just apparently between the NYPD and the FBI. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who's the creator of True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record. Anyway. So
it's not the filmmaker Michael Moore, is it?
Yeah.
Wow. He is a hardcore leftist.
Weird. Yeah.
Here's another one. Head count for pizza. On sometime back in 2013. Are you sure this might not be a Jim Jones Kool-Aid event? Teak L, please eat my slice. Does the pizza offer include those of us who can't make the meeting because we're out here editing? Because if so, count me in. This email color-coded. Who all in the Austin office today? Who is going to want pizza? We only have one slice, and we need to know how thinly to slice it. Okay, so it's obviously not talking about real pizza here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
sick bastards.
So then this really looks bad when you compare that to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino saying that Epstein wasn't sex trafficking children. Obviously, Dan Bongino making his big return back to Rumble today. I watched the first 15 minutes of Dan Bongino's return to Rumble, and about 16 minutes in, the microphone stopped working and the stream quit working. He was talking to nothing, and everybody in the chat was saying, your mic's not working. So they had some technical difficulties, but the first 15 minutes was really just Dan Bongino talking about himself. He's very upbeat, very optimistic, really mentioning nothing. I think he did eventually address the Epstein files at some point, a clip I saw going around. But the promo for his show coming back was him talking about how he had cleaned up Washington. And it's just so odd. What a day to relaunch your show after the weekend we've all had going through these emails.
Yeah.
And just kind of pretending like there's not pretending like there aren't people who are legitimately the disappointment people have with Dan Bongino is not illegitimate. No. It is not illegitimate. Okay, it is legitimate disappointment. And as I said from the beginning when he quit, like there's a way to handle this. To come back hat in hand and say, I get it, but that's not what I saw, at least in the first 15, 16 minutes. But again, I didn't
address the elephant in the room.
I didn't see the whole thing.
Well, and I didn't watch it either, but I would be interested to know how much time did he spend on these Epstein file releases? Because if he didn't spend anything on it, to me, that's a little bit telling. To me, that is him saying, oh, yeah, well, just like I said, there's really nothing in there.
All right.
Really?
I thought I bookmarked it.
We're all listening.
Hang on, I bookmarked it. Here it is, right here. This is him addressing the Epstein files. This is
this was today?
This was today. Yes, in his big return. I guess they got the stream back working again.
This case had been handled poorly for a long time. And if you go and look at the search warrants, and matter of fact, almost all of it's public now, thanks to President Trump and the team getting it all out there. Look at the search warrants and how they were scoped. The case had had issues for a really long time, so it obviously was a mess. And this is one of those level 10 decisions where I told you, you're not going to make everyone happy. There's a shitty answer and a shittier answer. And disagreements in D.C. about how to handle level 10 problems. I love how people in the media acted like this was like new, as if the Biden team had done anything to get this stuff out. They'd done shit. They'd done nothing. Zero. Of course there was going to be some disagreements on what do you do about grand jury material? What do you do about downloaded child pornography that was downloaded off the internet? You didn't create it, but what do you do about that? What do you do about all this? There was always going to be a disagreement. Of course, the media made this out to be like, remember that weekend? Like an intergalactic story. I'm sitting upstairs. I was home that weekend, and here's another media story. Like, Dan Bongino left town. I had a Morgan Wallen concert that night. It was on my schedule for months, you dipshits. But like, he left town. I didn't wind up going to the concert because the media was making a big deal out of these disagreements. But it was a level 10 problem. It was never
unsatisfactory.
I think he said a lot right there without saying anything.
Without saying, 300 words, and we really still don't know what the heck happened.
But to his point, are we going to be happy with what he says?
No, I think he's right about that.
Good point.
But I mean, if you go back and hang on a second, real quick.
Now, thanks to President Trump and the team getting it all out there. Look at the search warrants and how they were scoped. The case had issues for a really long time, so it obviously was a mess. And this is one of those level 10 decisions where I told you, you're not going to make everyone happy.
But you're going to have, he talked about the disagreements. I think it's obvious, though, one of the reasons this stuff was not, that took an act of Congress to get them to release this. And I think it's because people in the administration, I wish he would just say that. People in the administration didn't want to make it awkward for people that we're friends with. Or people that are, or we didn't want to take down the intelligence agencies, or we didn't want Mossad to look bad, or we didn't say that. Like, I'd love to know what the real argumentation was for not releasing this. Because listen, Trump's DOJ could have released this and redacted all of Trump's names. They didn't. They didn't redact Trump's name when he's in there for some anonymous tip line or whatever that the FBI investigates and finds that there's nothing there.
Well, look at us three sitting around this table trying to sparse through some of this stuff. I'm getting confused about what a slice of pizza is.
Yeah.
Because there's not a legend and a code book and anything that's come out and said, this is what pepperoni means, this is what cheese means, this is what sausage means, this is what grape Kool-Aid or soda. Like, I don't know exactly what that is. I'm only going to look at that and be like, that seems really off and really suspect and really weird, but I don't know exactly what it means, but it looks bad. So I don't know what he and Cash are looking at for months and months with 2 million files worth of that stuff. I know, obviously, the stuff we talked about earlier on with Bill Gates trying to dose his wife, that stuff is just like, well, that's weird. But to get to where you're putting handcuffs on people, I don't know how they get to it, to what we want, to make, as he said, to make everyone happy. Nobody's going to be happy. It's not about being happy, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Eric. The only sort of thing that would alleviate any of it should be a complete and total destruction of a person's reputation. If they were if you were flying to that island and having sex with 13-year-old French girls because they were promised a modeling contract to come to this island, but this is part of the game, then your life should be destroyed because you are garbage. Okay?
Yeah. That's a good point.
And so if there's not going to be a perp walk of you, I at least want you
That's fair.
to suffer the you're not getting cast in this movie, you're not getting reelected.
It's all, and it's all, the thing issue is it's like so many people. So many people. Again, we're talking about millions of documents.
Yeah,
and we're still
a lot of these victims
coming out.
To your point too, a lot of these victims are dead now. They've I mean, self-inflicted in a lot of cases.
Well, you look
self-inflicted.
It's sad.
That I mean, I would imagine that there would
them.
be. I would imagine that there would be some true depression had that actually happened to you.
Yeah.
The trauma that that you occur, but also if you are going to be a viable witness to something that you've said, then I mean, how many people have the Clintons allegedly offed? So
I want you to look at this
website
report
about that
because this goes in line with Bongino, and you'll understand why. And again, we don't. This is. When we have the documents here to make sense of this, this is somebody's summary that those documents below that I just showed you, the individual who anonymously posted on 4chan, I remember this, the individual who anonymously posted on 4chan the morning of Epstein's death claimed he witnessed weird happenings at the prison before Epstein's death has been identified in the Epstein files. Robert Grijalva, an officer at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, has been identified as the anonymous prison employee who posted on 4chan claiming Epstein left his cell Friday evening shackled in a medical wheelchair, while at the same time an unauthorized trip van arrived at the prison, which he believes took Epstein away the night before his the death of his the news of his death broke. The day after Epstein's death, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman of the Southern District of New York opened a grand jury proceeding and subpoenaed 4chan, Apple, AT&T, and Citibank for records aiming to uncover Grijalva's identity following the anonymous 4chan post. Grijalva's name is not redacted on his bank records, including in the SDNY subpoena response from Citibank for his 4chan post, and ties to the same prison officer, Roberto Grijalva, whose statements were released as part of the prison's investigation into Epstein's death. This is huge. We now have validation that the 4chan post is a legitimate eyewitness account from the MCC prison officer that Epstein may have been switched out before news broke of his alleged suicide. You know, there are many people that think he's still alive to this day.
Yeah. And that has a lot more validity than Elvis still being alive.
Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's not true. But people are looking through the files.
So this is a theory that's been going around for the last 6-7 years at this point, that Epstein did not kill himself, and that he, that's one thing, that he was murdered. The other one is that he is in fact still alive, and who knows, whether they're. If he's still alive, people know it, because you couldn't accomplish that without some help. But this 4chan post came out there, and everybody's like, oh, this is conspiracy and all of this stuff. But then you find out that it came from a person who actually works for the prison. So even if it's not true, it's at least coming from a source that makes you question it.
Yeah. Versus Bongino, who said, I've seen the files. He killed himself. I saw the tape. Yeah, I saw the tape.
Yeah, the tape with the missing timestamp.
With the missing timestamp. So
1 minute, but it's actually 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh, it's just crazy. You come back to Rumble. It's like I don't understand. You're just gonna pretend like you just pretend like nothing has happened, and the past is what you said in the past versus what. It's just so frustrating. I
think a lot of us, conservatives and Dan Bongino believers and all of this stuff, when he was put in that position, and then you see him resign 6 months later, I think we would have come if he would have come back with the exact same fervor that Trey Gowdy, when he left the House in 2018 and sought not to be reelected. He said it was all right. So I came in 2010. This is Trey Gowdy. If you ever read his book, Doesn't Hurt to Ask, which is a phenomenal book.
Awesome book.
If you ever the art of negotiation and persuasion. Through question asking. But anyway, but Trey Gowdy talks about he came in 2010, but he wasn't the Tea Party. And you've read this book, so you know where I'm going with it. He comes in and they say, well, hey, this is Barack Obama. We need to win the House, right? So they win the House in 2012. And become the majority. And they're like, well, but we can't get anything done because we don't have the Senate, right? So we need the Senate. So
they won the House in 2010.
But he came in and said,
oh, he came in later?
No, he came in 2010. I forget exactly what it was, but essentially his whole point was, they say we need the House, we win the House. Then they say we need the Senate, and we win the Senate. Then they say we need the presidency and those other things, which happened in 2016 with Donald Trump. And he said, I was there for 2 years and nothing happened. I got so absolutely frustrated that I just feel like I was, beating my head against the wall here trying to get something accomplished.
They didn't want it to get accomplished.
When there's nothing. So if Dan Bongino, our hammer, goes in there and says, hey, I tried to do good, and I feel like I did do some good things, but I felt like I was beating my head against the wall because I couldn't get the things accomplished that I felt like because of this and that, and the same sort of mentality. And that Trey Gowdy came. Yeah. Then I think if you would have come to that back on your show today and said, I did everything I could, guys. I'm so frustrated. I think we got some things accomplished, but I'm so frustrated by the bureaucracy of it all, But
we don't get that. We don't get that.
We didn't get any of that. And I feel like that would have had so much more validity to a common person
than the gaslighting.
Than the gaslighting.
Because that's what's going on. We're being gaslit. Here is, just real quick, we're running out of time, but I wanted to get to a couple of audio clips. I wanted to get to this one right here.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday. that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
So case file versus the files, I guess you could split hairs there. But, I mean, look, come on. There are leads in these emails at a bare minimum that need to be run down. Also, we would be remiss without playing this for you.
The Epstein files. There are none. Okay, as far as the Epstein list, there is no Epstein list. The evidence suggested there really was not an Epstein list if you were watching this case with any sort of eagle eye.
The Justice Department released so many records from the Epstein files today, more than 3 million pages plus videos and...
Anyway, so there's that. And then the last thing, the obvious, it's obvious, okay, all right, just...
We're not going to get syndicated on the Daily Wire now.
Yeah, no, we're probably not, but that's okay. Here is this. Hang on. This right here. Nicki Minaj. Okay, Nicki Minaj, who has now come out, and she needs to clearly state she's not suicidal, by the way.
Yeah.
She needs a tweet saying, I am not suicidal.
Yep.
She says, your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries. We just read emails about getting babies from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, he must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up. She then said, are y'all understanding that these people have been sacrificing children as a way of gaining and maintaining power? If you ever vote Democrat again, you're just as soulless as they are and will perish. Maybe it's time for me to do some story time, since I was trying to not say what I know, yet they continue to attempt bullying. Also, I won't be releasing an album until my contract is renegotiated and until I tell you all about the sabotage this Rico is finding out about the Billboard. And she's reminding us that here is... who is this? I don't even know who this is.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yeah. So, age 26, 15, 20... and that's...
is that supposed to be Beyonce?
That's Beyonce.
Yeah, that's Beyonce at 16 years old. So, anyway, when it rains, it pours. I guess I say all that to say, when it rains, it pours. We're getting all these disclosures, and we're having somebody in the music industry, the Grammys were last night, by the way, somebody in the music industry coming out and saying, once again, the conspiracy theorists were right.
That host of that Grammys is going to get sued, by the way.
Oh, really?
I
haven't seen that.
Yeah, Trevor Noah said that... is that his name? Trevor Noah?
Yeah, Trevor Noah.
He was the host of the Grammys. Said that Trump was on Epstein Island. Said it from the stage at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Really? Well, if Trump wasn't on Epstein Island, then he probably will sue.
Oh, he's already said it. He posted it.
Oh,
big
big
time. He's gonna sue. So he's gonna take him down. He's like, just ask George Slopadopoulos or whatever he calls him. He's like, hey, this is gonna be fun. But yeah, it's just the leftist ideology was on full display at the Grammys. I don't watch that crap, but I've seen clips, and we had, I don't know if you've got the video here of this Emily Austin. I've never heard of her before. She did this last night. She's got a podcast, great following, all of that stuff. And so what's her name? Billie Eilish. The singer. I can't name you a single solitary Billie Eilish song, but regardless, she's popular. And she just goes up there, she's giving her speech, and she's just like, well, guess what? F ICE, or whatever. And so she gets a standing ovation, except for Emily Austin and her lady.
So there's some diversity of political opinions at the Grammys.
Correct.
What is it, like 90-10?
Yeah, and so what we saw were a lot. Yeah, it was probably 90-10. What we saw were a lot of conservatives probably following Emily Austin. I would like to know what her Twitter following was or X following was yesterday versus what it is today. But then, so you got all these conservatives, but then also the liberals are like, look at this, how she crashed out. And I'm like, I don't think she crashed out. I think she's like pretty confident in how she's feeling.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of the country agrees with her. Pretty wild stuff. I mean, the Epstein fallout's going to continue. There's going to be more and more files that are going to come out. So this is really just the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The news cycle is going to try to change, but and we'll see, because we're also potentially facing some giant economic hurdles that could happen any second between China and the U.S. when it comes to silver price. There's going to be an attempt to just forget this. I think you're right, Eric. It is also convoluted, and there's the Justice Department saying we're not going to hold anybody accountable, and so is this all just going to be forgotten? I don't think we can expect any accountability here. We should demand it, but I don't think we should expect it.
Court of public opinion is all we've got at this point.
Yeah,
and the destruction of their
and what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean we're just slaves? Honestly, it's talking to the people at the bank. And the people at the bank are just like, nothing's going to happen.
Sure.
How demoralizing.
Yeah.
When you've got allegations of just, baby murder.
Yeah.
And yet, we live in a society that doesn't punish our elites.
Sure.
Sick stuff.
It's like Sean Ryan said, everything is and was a lie. All of it.
Yeah.
It's just a big lie.
And we say that as Christians, we know God is in control of everything going on right
100%.
now. So we take faith in that, right? Like the God of heaven is not blind. He sees and he hears our prayers, and he does even hear our prayers for the light to expose the darkness and for these satanic strongholds to be completely torn down in a Tower of Babel 2.0 situation. So we can pray to that end, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody out there has a great rest of your day. Happy Monday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.